Don't be fooled by that lying scum in DC. This is Dr. David D. Shine for Saving America. Welcome. And we've got a special episode today to talk about the ridiculous performance in Washington, which we witnessed recently, where the Congress people said, hey, you folks from big oil, Devon and Shell Oil and Chevron and those cats, you need to come to Washington and explain why you're making money while the poor American people are paying $5 and $6 a gallon for gasoline. Well, this is such a ridiculous farce. First of all, United States, hey, members of Congress, is a capitalist country. The basis of being in business is you need to make a profit. But this is far beyond that. And of course, I've frequently talked about the ludicrous level of hypocrisy that we're seeing in Washington. It's reached new lows for sure. But I want to be clear. I have definitely a background in the oil industry from law school through my first 10 years out of law school. I worked for 3 different major oil companies. And I've seen some good, I've seen some bad. I do think that the energy industry is extremely important to America. And I want to be clear about this also, is certainly at some point we need to replace oil because the world will have pumped all of it that can be gotten economically, and we're going to need to use something else. So I want to see people experiment. I want to see more nuclear power plants built. Hey, you green fools that are opposed to nuclear power as well, the cleanest, best source of electrical energy for your overpriced electric cars, which are not practical at the present time. And so what else are we going to do? Well, we need to do the right things with regard to energy today. And we need to have a plan forward. And notice that these people in Congress have no plan. And certainly we need to be careful about the squalids, as I call them, and their Luddite concepts of opposing the smart use of energy as we phase in other forms of energy. And remember, air, solar, wind power, not going to ever replace the current use of fossil fuels. We're going to have to invent something else. And I don't see a single member of Biden's lost administration. I don't see a single Democrat, and especially the squalids, coming up with any creative and important ideas to see if we can really move the world forward and away from both American fossil fuel and, more importantly, fossil fuel from terrorist countries like Iran and war criminals like Russia. And so what do we got? Well, the oil industry makes a profit of less than 3%. The pharmaceutical industry makes 25%. I didn't see them in front of Congress today. And the financial services industry makes 25%. So the concept that the people running the big oil companies are raping the American public is just ridiculous. So how about that tech giant Apple, who seems to be so popular, and some of the other tech companies? Apple makes about 25%. And note that virtually everything they make is made overseas by non-American production. And they're just now building their first plant. I hope they get that up soon. But the point is, if you want to grill somebody in front of Washington, you pick the wrong industry and you pick the wrong time. So let's take a little look at this thing. This thing looks a lot like the Salem witch trials. And I don't see where anybody in Congress is saying, well, hey, how about the massive losses that you took? Negative oil prices just 2 years ago. Yes, well, the clowns in Washington, of course, have a very short memory. And of course, they don't like to be reminded of the truth. What are the real facts? So is Congress going to give say, gee, you guys, it's so nice of you to show up in Washington and testify to our farce committee. Hey, we're going to give you some of those billions and billions that you lost 2 years ago. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. So what do the Democrats want to do? Here's what they need to do. I don't know that they're going to be listening to Dr. Schein and other people with an IQ over 40. And it's that they need to immediately reinstate the Keystone Pipeline. Hey, it might take 2 years to finish it. You know what? Every day that goes by is a day that it's not ready to go and not ready to help the people of Canada and the people of the United States. They need to open all available federal lands and waters where there are available petroleum reserves. We're not sure how much, and we'll never be sure. They need to expedite issuing permits to actually drill on the properties. Part of the big fraud in Washington is, whoa, there's 9,000 leases out there. Some of those leases are not economically feasible. Others, the federal government has dragged its feet in terms of issuing permits. So how do we wrap this up? Drill, baby, drill. Time to get going, time to stop the farce in Washington. This is Dr. David D. Schein. Thanks for joining us for Saving America. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite platform.